I wanted to come down here to Redwood City to show the example of Envisage here, which is a public artwork in collaboration with Brick Architecture and Charmin-Baaqee and the Redwood City Arts Commission, where One Hat, One Hand actually proposed a sculpture through a RFQ, and we were awarded the project, and we worked with our design team to develop this concept, which we have titled Envisage. It is a figurative sculpture, and so we actually used a state-of-the-art technology to 3D scan a figure, a real person, and then we were able to take that data from the scan and bring it into our modeling software, working with Rhino and Grasshopper, and we created a form in order for us to weld this kind of network of steel rod over top of, allowing us to create this very transparent, large-scale figure. Charmin, thanks for coming down to Redwood City today. It's awesome to have us both here at Envisage and have it done and be out here on this beautiful spring day after, the winter, and finally seeing it in all of its glory here with all the greenery and everything. But I wanted to talk to you about this piece because, we started it a long time ago. How did you get into the world of bringing public art to the people?
So first off, I want to say thank you for being a part of this project. I think not having One Hat, One Hand as one of the main artists on this project would have been a huge misstep. Right. This is obviously a beautiful sculpture, and it seems to complement the plantings. So I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of your creative process. Yeah. So my background is actually, I'm a civil environmental engineer, and I entered the art world probably about over 15 years ago as a curator. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is that most engineers and scientists are also artists or have some sort of creative path. Right. And it kind of makes sense because artists and scientists sort of have similar brains, right? We're innovators. We need to be to come up with solutions to problems.
Right. I also see that a number of the other artists we've worked with where science and art are really commingling right now.
That's right. And honestly, I remember when I came to visit One Hat, One Hand for the studio visit, I very much felt in good company. I felt like I was among my people. I know that you guys work with architects, you work with folks in the trades, and that definitely resonates with me as someone who's an engineer. Right. So as a curator, the curatorial practice is the art of arrangement. And that is also similar to the way that engineers and scientists think about data and sharing data and making sure that conclusions can be made and people can have their own sort of engagement with it. So the curatorial practice felt very familiar to me. It felt like a really great way to share stories of artists, but to also allow viewers to have their own sort of experience with the artwork. Most of my curatorial work has been in the nonprofit world. And actually some of my first work was at East Bay Mud as part of their public art gallery space. So the idea of public art was already embedded in my curatorial practice. During the pandemic, a lot of the gallery spaces closed, right? But that did not stop me from wanting to engage with art and the public. And so this project in Redwood City was a great opportunity for me to do that. Right. It was an opportunity for me to bring artists together to be part of the curatorial creative process, but also use both my engineering and creative hats at the same time.
Right, and your ability to communicate with all the stakeholders.
Exactly.
We have the developer, we have the city, we have the architect, and then you have the fabricators. Yep. And for a lot of the other projects you did, you're also working with the artist who was designing it. So it was a really, an interesting mix of different skill sets you were corralling, basically.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm quite familiar with construction sites and managing construction projects. Right. So this felt like I was very much in my lane, but being allowed to explore other pathways at the same time.
Yeah. So how did you connect with Redwood City and Brick Architecture specific to this project?
So I actually received the call for artists through Brick.
Okay.
And so Brick was sort of like that link. Right. I had not worked with Brick before. I'm assuming that they may have got like a contact through someone else or had seen my work. because I, in addition to my consulting work and my engineering life, I also sit on various boards. So I'm one of the members of the City of Oakland Public Art Advisory Committee. So as part of that work, I'm accustomed to reviewing public art projects and working with artists and providing feedback and jurying as needed for artist selection process. So I think it was probably through those means that we were connected. And so the nice thing about it is, in the role as a project manager for the public art portion of this project, I had an opportunity to actually help select artists and bring new artists and artists who maybe were emerging artists to the project as well.
I mean, even for us, you know, One Hat, One Hand is, you know, we spend the majority of our time working with artists and architects and, you know, general contractors, developers. But for this project, we actually were able to submit our proposal, and we were able to work with Cal, one of our designers, who she generated this concept. We did submit a couple others, but it was very exciting for us to actually be awarded the project to work as the kind of designer and fabricator. It really did work out well. I mean, a little bit from your perspective as far as kind of selecting the artwork. I mean, you probably looked at others, but was there something special about what we submitted that you felt kind of met the goal?
Yeah, I think one of the things that resonates about your work as a whole is that even without it necessarily being something that you swing off of, there's an immediate sort of like opportunity for someone from the public to engage with it, to kind of have a moment. And that's what we want. I think whether the art is in a public space or otherwise, it's like we want a viewer to have an opportunity to have their own experience, their own moment. Without everything necessarily being so obvious, right? And I think this is a great example of a piece where someone could see themselves in it, literally. You know, there's this reflective sphere, there's this gesture, there's you know, whether you're female or male identifying, that you see yourself, to your point, that it nestles perfectly in with the landscaping here. So there's art that feels like it's a part of the artistic expression of nature too. And I think over time it's going to patina really nicely. So I think your work as a whole, and just even in your corporate type installations, it's meant to sort of inspire and engage. And I think that really everyone read that from your proposal.
Well, again, it was an amazing project to work on. What else do you have going on right now? So did this project lead to other things that you're currently involved in?
It did. Actually, the summer after we finished this project, I actually enrolled in a 6-week-long landscape architecture program through University of California, Berkeley. The nice thing about it is it allowed me to explore more about how community engagement and thinking about who our stakeholders are in projects and how to make sure they are incorporated or that their voices are counted early in the process. The other thing that I really enjoyed about the program there was having these larger conversations around sustainability and the way to think about public art in more of as an impermanence sort of state, right? And thinking that not all art is meant to exist as it is forever, right? But that there is an opportunity to still engage while it's there, but then to also leave space for new sort of exploration, new opportunities for public art. The other thing that I've been working on is I partnered with an entity on research and thinking about how we can create more opportunities for a more diverse landscape of artists and art. And so whether that's self-taught artists, artists with disabilities, racial diversity, the whole realm of diversities that may be underrepresented, and how we can leverage our partners to help make that happen, right? Because there, for example, One Hat, One Hand, I know does a really amazing job of like reaching out to members of the community to become part of your team, or working with community members to get to get their voices as it relates to projects that are, you know, within your space or like on other projects that you're working on.
Yeah, I mean, I know, you know, you and I had spoken about working with some of the organizations in the Bayview in San Francisco, and you know, we have been working a little bit with the SF Parks Alliance, and you know, I definitely want to continue to have that conversation around you know, bringing this idea of kind of public art not necessarily being this kind of like permanent you know, installation, where public art can be, you know, it's about giving opportunity. And so if you think about public art as these kind of embedded, you know, statements that are never going to go anywhere, which was a thing of the past, now it's about these platforms for up and coming artists, and the idea to transition out that artwork and either move it on to another location, or maybe it be sold, or maybe it be collected.
Yeah, or it
by a
becomes
museum.
part of the landscape.
Right.
You know, I mean, for me, any opportunity to make this bridge between my background as an environmental engineer and art, I'm all for it.
Right.
And so, you know, I'm really interested in thinking about how we can, you know, collaborate more with artists, but landscape architects, biologists, everyone who needs to be at the table to think really have a more forward-thinking approach to art, because, you know, as amazing as art is, physical art is something else often that we're adding to our landscape, and we really want to be thoughtful about how we do that.
Yeah. Thanks for coming down here to Redwood City to have a conversation
for
about
having
this
me.
work, and thanks for you know, bringing One Hat One Hand along for the ride. It certainly turned out as good as I think we all wanted it to.
It sure did. Even better.